So we just did a quick review over units. I'm going to go back again after we start modeling this so that we can make sure that we understand units correctly. So we just reviewed. I'm gonna do this for the recording. Points, curves, surfaces, solids, and meshes. Right, and that's how. Those are the things that you can add in terms of elements into Rhino. Real quick, if you guys saw how I did this, we did this yesterday. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Just make a box. So you go to the left panel. Up top, up here, you have your command line. Every time you click on a function, you have options. I'll review that later, but I just want you guys to know. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a box using 3 points. So the first point sets one corner. I'm gonna go to the opposite corner, and then I'm gonna set the height. Okay, great, congratulations. Here's what I wanna show you. Now that you have this box, I wanna show you how to orbit around or pan around. So I can orbit by right-clicking and holding. This is gonna orbit around the box. If you click and hold Shift and do the same thing, that pans. It's a little different, right? If you click and hold Control and do the same thing, except just do up and down, that's going to zoom you in. That's a smooth zoom. You can also zoom with the scroll. So if you just let go of everything, this is usually how I scroll or how I zoom. I just scroll. Okay, so now you can orbit, you can pan, and you can zoom. Everybody good? Okay. Now, how do you select objects? There's 3 different ways to select objects. One, you can just click on it. The other way is a little bit more complicated, but you'll get used to it. It's going to be a window select or a cross select. So if you look up on the screen, this mouse, I'm going to click, I'm going to hold. When I move to the right, it's a solid box. This is a window select. It'll only select things that fall completely within the box. So if it's not completely within, it won't select it. I'm going to go ahead and try to select this, but not make it fully inside that box. It's not going to get it, right? If I make a box and it completely encloses that box, now it'll select it. When it turns yellow, it means it's selected. The other way to choose something is cross selection. So same thing, I click, except I go to the left. If you look at my box, when I went to the right, it's a solid line. When I move to the left, it's a dashed line. You see that? So that's a cross selection. Before I had to go all the way around the box to select it. Now I literally just have to touch it, and it'll grab it. Okay, this becomes useful when you have a lot of objects or elements in Rhino, and you need to be able to select certain things or not select certain things. That's going to be the way to do it. Okay. Just going to show you another example. I copied this box over, so now there's 2 objects on top of each other. When I do that and I click in between the 2, I just clicked. It's going to ask me to select something because it's saying there's 2 there. What do you want? It won't do that if I do a cross selection. It won't do that if I do a window selection. It's only when you click. So if I wanted to get in there and I can't differentiate between the 2, let's say there's one literally right on top of the other. So I can't window select or cross select to choose. I can just click it and it'll select that one. Okay, I'll show you something really quick. I know that this happens. I don't know how we do it when we learn how to use Rhino, but we have duplicates all over the place. There's a quick way to correct that, and I'll show you because this should select itself. You would go to Edit, Select Objects, Duplicate Objects, and it just selected it for me. Now I can just go ahead and hit Delete, and it got rid of that duplicate. Okay. Just looking at my notes real quick. So let's do a few quick basic commands. I feel like I'm doing the workshop now that I'm going to do in the afternoon. Okay, real quick. So go to the line. And go ahead and make a line. Doesn't matter how long it is, doesn't matter the angle. So you're going to click twice. If I continue clicking, it's going to make a polyline, which is fine. You can do that if you want. What I want to show you guys is just some basic operations. I'm going to select it. And I'm going to show you the options using this command. So I'm going to do extrude, curve. You don't have to finish the command. You can just type extrude. But you can probably even do less than that. So for me, it's going to be, once I do all the way to the U, extrude curve comes up. So I have options up here. I mentioned that there's a command line. Every time that you go into a command, you have options. I just went into extrude. Up here, it'll ask me what direction do I want to go. Do I want to go both sides? Do I want to make this a solid? Do I want to delete the input, which in this case would be the line after I extrude? So you can automatically delete that line. So basically what I want to show you guys is this. If I'm extruding and I want to extrude in a different way, I can select both sides. And now when I extrude up, it also extrudes down. Yeah? Cool. It's the same thing when I'm making a box. I can make a, right now, the standard is basically 1, 2 for the base and then the height. If I were to do this again, I can do just the vertical. I do something like this. Diagonal from here to here. You guys see that? These are just different ways to construct the box. Okay, if you want to repeat a command, you just hit enter, and it'll get you right back into the last command that you used. So for me, it was if I made a sphere, I can just hit enter. You can also hit space. Gets me right back in there. So now I don't have to keep doing what I did the first time, which is go find the sphere. And to delete, you click delete. Or back. I think you can do backspace too. Yeah, you can do backspace. All right. So now that you have some elements on there, there are manipulation elements. So for every object, you have points, you have edges, and you have faces. And you can manipulate that object based on those 3 elements. And I'll show you real quick. What I can do here is I can take this box and I can move the face by using the move face command. Select the face, and I can move it around. Now, if you guys notice, it's like I can't move this orthographically right now, but if I hold shift, now I can. So that fixes it to a 90 degree. Okay, you can also change this by moving the edges. So I'll do the move edge command. Everybody got that? Okay, and then I want to show you, it's the same thing with points. In Rhino 6, it automatically does this. In Rhino 5, it doesn't, which is once I select this line, it gives me the points. If you're in Rhino 5, you're going to need to go down here to either of these. So if I click that, it doesn't do anything because it's already done it for me. So now I can go ahead and do a window select, and I can move this over. So I can edit this line. Got it? I can also delete these and simplify this. Okay, at the very bottom, there's something in the way. Let's see. Okay, at the very bottom, I have my O snaps. I can turn on and turn off my O snap down here. It's a little bit difficult on my screen, but there's an O snap option. That's an object snap. So if I want to snap to an option or to an object, this is how I would do that. You always keep this on. If you don't keep this on, you're sloppy. And I'll show you real quick what I've seen some students do before. Is I draw a line and I want to make another line that connects to it. So I'm going to try to get as close as possible to that end. Looks pretty close, but when you zoom in, it's not very close. So why don't I just go ahead and move this over and get it closer? I'm just going to keep zooming in. It's never going to get it. That's my point. It's never going to actually get it. This is going to be important. I'm going to zoom out now because I've gone in so far. It looks like it's right on there. It looks right, but it's not. And Illustrator, when we export to Illustrator, it's going to know that there's a gap. And when you guys are going to try to make your drawings and things aren't filling in correctly, it's because of that. So how do you correct that? Is you turn on your O snap down here. And you go to your end. So now, if I want to connect to the end of that, you see that? I get a little message that says end. I can click on it from here. I don't have to zoom in anymore. And it's actually touching it. I can continue zooming in. I don't know why it does that, but that's actually touching. Okay. You have your different features of how to connect. So you can do midpoint, center, intersection, perpendicular. So I can go perpendicular to that point or to that line. I can also go center. So if I go here, click center, now it's going to give me the center of that radius. Okay, cool. We did this really quick yesterday, or the last class, how to turn this into a shaded mode so that it's not, doesn't look like this. You can flip through these and actually see a ghosted view. You can see a rendered view. This isn't great, and this is not how you render. It's just a render view. It gives you shadow. It's just a great way to slow down your computer. I pretty much always use shaded view. This is a quick little trick I'll show you guys. You can select your objects, your three-dimensional objects. These are called ISO curves in here. These little subdivisions. You can turn those off or you can increase them. So sometimes if you want to make a drawing or a screenshot or something and you want to show higher density, I didn't change the object, I just increased the density of the line. It doesn't do anything. This is just visual. I can set this back. Yeah, sorry, I flipped through that. So you have your properties. Does everybody have their properties down here? Or should I show you guys again?
Oh, can you show us again?
Yeah, I'm going to put it back to where it was. Originally, this is where it was. And some of you might still be here. You can just grab your properties tab, peel it off, and drop it into your scene so it looks like this.
Mine doesn't do it. Oh, there we go. Okay.
It's okay. So then I go to this bar up here, and I bring it back down. It's gonna give you different ways to attach to this. I like to keep this down at the bottom, the properties, and then I just scroll this up. So what I did is I came here and I changed the density. I'm gonna put this back to 1, which is the original. So you see that? Usually when you model something, you're gonna get it like this. I like to select, and then I uncheck the show ISO curve. It just gets rid of it. This is what your actual surface looks like. Sometimes if you guys start modeling more complex shapes, you'll get subdivisions that you can't just get rid of. That's okay. You can change that later, and that's the great thing about Illustrator and the other programs that we use. Okay. You have your layers at the right. If you want to make a new layer, right-click, new layer. Call it anything you want. You can call it a wall. Once you have that, you can turn that layer on or off, or you can lock it. I don't have anything in that layer, so I'm not getting any changes. But I'm going to go ahead and change the color of that layer. I'm going to make it red. Okay. Select that object. I'm going to right-click on that wall layer, and I'm going to change the object to that layer. Like I said, I can turn it off. So if I want to, I can hide it. I can lock it, so now I can't select it or move it. And I can also change the color if I don't like that color. So if you accidentally modeled something in the wrong layer, you can always change it. You can copy this thing. Whoops. I can select that, and I can copy it to another layer too. So now I have 2 again. Don't do that, but you can do that. All right, cool. So this is where I'm gonna step off because we're gonna do a lot of this. What time did we start? 9? Okay, so 30 minutes. So we have about an hour. The rest of the stuff I'm gonna go over in the afternoon. So let's do some stuff for this class. What we're gonna be doing, like I said, is that we're all gonna be modeling, 3D modeling an existing building. So if you guys received the link that I sent you, were you guys able to access that link?
Yes.
Okay, so inside of that link on the G Drive folder, there's gonna be a list of buildings on there. The list of buildings are for you guys to choose one building and start modeling it. This is my suggestion, is don't worry about how complex it is. I'm gonna collect everybody. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna collect everybody's choice, and you're gonna give me your top 3 choices. So 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna try to limit the amount of people that are working on a specific building, so you guys don't have to manage with each other. I'll set it up. And I think what I'd like to do is have you guys set up with that building before next week. It would be great though, because we want to move quickly, that you guys took advantage of this week, because we're not going to see each other on Monday. We're going to see each other on Wednesday. So being able to get some work, and I want to get you guys started with that today. So if you follow the link, you can see the different buildings that are on there. And if you have a particular building that you're interested in modeling, let me know. Send me an email, and I can give you a thumbs up, thumbs down. Don't do the Sydney Opera. But if you want, if there's a specific architect that you like, and there's a specific building by that architect that you would really like to model, send it over or send me some information on it if it's not already heavily published. You should do something that's heavily published. Do something that's recognizable. So if you have a favorite architect that lives in Australia and he does like, or she does really cool like little modern homes, no. Do something that's more recognizable so that we can all, I guess, be familiar with what the project is and then what you actually did to it. Yeah.
Sorry, I have a question. I'm in the link. It's not a drive, right? It takes me to a drive.
It takes you to a drive, yeah.
And there's a bunch of folders, but
That's why
every
it's
time
like
I
ratings,
open
right?
it, there's nothing.
Ratings.
All right, let me see. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Ratings.
The first one.
Let's do it.
So it's just
Can you
two?
resend the link?
Not hopeful. Yeah, that's like.
Okay, so I sent you a link. It should look like this.
Yes.
Precedent pool.
Oh, okay, okay, I got it. Yeah.
Sorry. I was gonna say that next. You beat me to it.
Sorry.
So these are the list of the buildings that between the professors and I we collected for you. If you click into them, you have
Oh,
one.
wow. Okay.
Henry, my folder's empty.
Yeah.
Well, don't go into the class folder. Yeah, I just did precedent
Yeah.
on the main page.
Okay. You may have gone to certain professors folder. Is that no? Let me show you again real quick before I go walk over individually. So it should be under shared with me, right? And then you should find, or you can go to the link and it should shoot you straight here. You should be able to double click onto this. You see the professors? Readings? Yeah, you see all that? And then you click in here. You don't get anything? Okay. Hit refresh. Got it? Okay. If you don't see it, hit refresh. So what's that? Yeah, just email me your top 3.
Oh, so we're all doing it.
Everyone's doing a different one, yeah. But the thing is that there's only 12 here, and there's I think 20 something of you. So there's going to be about 2-3 students per project. Some of these are really easy. I don't know. I don't know if you guys should do that. Well, for example, I just think that the garage in Miami is a little simple.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah. So compared to Casa de Música or something, right? It's a little bit more complicated. So, like I said, if you want to do a little bit of research between today, tomorrow, maybe before the weekend, and see if you find a really amazing project that you can find floor plans for. If you do want to do that, awesome. Go to Art Daily and see if you can find. Usually, you can find good plans, good sections, good elevations, good photographs of the projects. Art Daily is not the only source, but it's a good one. And if you can find enough resources or images of the project, then go ahead and send it to me. And just say, hey, this is a project I'd really like to model, blah, blah, blah. Just remember, if it's a simple building, it's like, let's just say this, because I know you guys are new to the computers. Trying to model a curved building because you think it's more complex, I wouldn't worry about that too much because you're going to be able to add complexity later on in the second module. Does that make sense? So you can keep it simple and then add the complexity later. So, but if there is, I mean, we have a Zaha Hadid project on here. There's a Morphosis building on there. Again, we just picked up the images. We didn't model them. We didn't draft anything. These are just images that we collected from the internet. So you guys can do the same thing. Okay, cool. So what I would like to do is I want to go ahead and have all of us for the remainder of this class to start drafting. Again, I'm not going to go into detail about here are all the different operations. I'm just going to walk you through some so that maybe before the end of the class, everyone has a drawing already started of a building. So give me a few minutes and let me find a drawing of the building, and then I'll share it with you guys on the drive. And where I'm going to drop it is under the folder that has my name, and I'll let you know what folder I drop it in. Okay. I have it downloaded, so I'm just going to show in folder. Oh crap, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. So this is what's going to happen. You guys are going to insert drawings. The only one that's already like this is Morphosis drawings. I know that because I uploaded them, but almost all the drawings are going to be white background, black lines. And when you're starting to draw over that, it's a little bit annoying. I know that because I've done it myself. So what I like to do is I take it to Photoshop and I invert the colors. So I get black background, white lines. And now I can model this in CAD, and it's a lot easier. And I'm just going to show you guys how to do that. Hopefully today. And this should take a second. So you just open the file. Do you guys all have it open?
Yeah.
Did I beat you? Okay, so you should be able to just Control-I, and that inverts it. Okay, so then you just hit File, Save As, and you're done.
Okay.
Actually, hold up. Depending on the drawings, okay, so this is really helpful. Like, for example, you guys did a cool sketch. Blah, blah, blah. You guys are really good at your hand sketching. You scanned it, and it looks not that clear. What you can do, and I'll just show you this real quick, adjustments. If you go to your levels, this is a quick way for like line work, just to get rid of some of the noise. So you can just bring your blacks in and bring your whites. This is going to increase the lines, right? So if your lines aren't that, you're not getting that contrast you want, this is a really quick way to do that. Cool. So if I pull it too much, if you look in the middle here, if I pull it too much, the black starts to take over. I don't want to do that. So just be aware of that. The fact that I'm getting a little bit of blue or whatever, this doesn't even matter. You just want clarity. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and just save that file, save as. I'm unorganized, so I'm going to put it in my downloads. You guys should put it in your folders. And what I'll do is I'll just call this section. I'll save it as a JPEG because Rhino will actually pick up JPEGs, so I'll hit OK. I'm going to bump this up just in case. Okay, cool, saved. Run over back to Rhino. And I'm going to go to my top view. So remember I said you guys can double click on the perspective or double click on any of these names. You can also flip through at the bottom through the tabs. Okay. So is anybody on Rhino 5? No? I know there's somebody on Rhino 5. Okay. So you might have to type in something different, which is just add frame at the end. Everyone else just type picture. And this should come up. So now you just find your drawing. Downloads. There it is. And I just make a box. So click, click, and I got it. Okay, I have to see. Okay, there's a scale down here, and it's blurry, really blurry.
Yeah. Control I.
I'm gonna find out the scale of that real quick. Give me 1 second.
I wasn't to the phone. I was like, bridge. I know. But I still kind of weird. You were like, I know. Well, let me see.
Okay, so I'm looking.
Sorry, no question. How did
Yeah.
you put the picture in there? I thought you said you just type picture and you put it in. Like,
Yeah, are you in Rhino 5 or 6?
it's 6.
Okay, yeah, just type in picture.
Hmm.
I'm gonna do it again, even though this is gonna be recording. So blank, I'm blank. I type picture, select the section, and make a box. Click, click. Huh? So we have this in here. What I'm gonna tell you guys real quick, because I'm looking at a section outside on another computer, that this upper level right here it's showing that it's 3.24, and that must be meters, right? So I can just quickly go, even though I would just multiply by 3. I'm just gonna do this. 3.24 meters in feet. Okay, so it's 10.6. So here's where we're going to be able to get this onto the right scale. I'm going to select the entire picture that we brought in. I'm going to zoom into this area. So your zoom, by the way, it follows the mouse. So if I want to go to the W, I can't put my mouse down here and be like, oh no. If I want to go to the W, put the mouse there and then zoom. Okay. So I want to get in this area because this is 3.24 meters, which is what, 10.6 is it?
10.6, yeah.
So I'm going to do scale. Type in scale. Just click, again, I'm not going to know the difference, right, between 10 feet and 11 feet. So just click here. What you can do, actually, you can even do this in the middle of the command, is click this ortho. I like to work with ortho on. Some people maybe don't like that. For me, if I want to get off ortho, I just hold shift and now I can fly around. I like to keep it on. So I click the bottom. I click the top. Now I can change the scale of this. Now I don't care to do it with my mouse because I'm going to manually type it in. Once I'm here, I'm going to do 10.6. Is it 10.6?
Yeah.
Or 10'6"? 10.6, right? Okay, so 10.6 feet. Enter. There. Now that's at a scale. Supposedly that's right. Okay, here's how I can check this real quick. I can just do distance. So I type distance. Usually it's just DIST. Enter. I click the bottom and top, and I get 10'7". That sounds like 10.6. So I'm at the right scale now. Yeah, is anybody falling behind? You don't have what? Have you not gotten to the link? So we're back in. I'm going to take advantage here, and I'm going to show you guys how to change the background. I like to work with a darker background. It's easier on your eyes. And if you're going to be working on the computer a lot, which you probably will, it's easier to just work on a dark background. So to do that, you're just going to go to File. I forgot how to do this. No, it's not Properties. You can just type Settings. I hardly ever do this, so I'm not fresh at doing this all the time. So I think this is how you do it. You go to View, Display Modes. Is this right? Because I know is this not right? Yeah, if you're on a Mac, it's going to be a little bit different. So I apologize for the Mac users. Yeah, so if you're on a PC like me and you're Rhino 6, for sure you're gonna get this. So you can go to Settings, View, Display Modes, Shaded. You have your background. It's saying to use the application settings. I can tell it to be a solid color. And don't use one of these, because if you set your layers or your lines to show up as a gray or light gray, and then you draw, and it's the same color as your background, it's literally not a visible line, right? You're going to draw a line, and you're going to be like, why isn't there a line? And you're going to draw it again, and it keeps disappearing. It's not disappearing, it's there, it's just the same color as the background. So I usually just go back here and select one of these grays. So doesn't matter. You can go back and change this. So I'll just do OK.
How did you get to the
Yeah, so I'll show you again. You go to Shaded,
Yeah, I have it too.
Background, change this to Solid. So you can change, you can put an image background, right? So we could have done this different ways. We can do gradients, which can actually be cool, or it can be really bad. If you want to change the color, you click on the color palette. Did you get that?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay. And then you just scroll down here, select the color, and that's it. So I hit OK. And because I'm in wireframe, it didn't change. So I go to Shaded, and now it's going to change. I think there might be a way to override that, so it's always, no matter what view you're in. But I'm not sure. Okay. So as I'm at the right scale, I have a drawing on there. So what I'm going to show you guys for this class is basically just to start drafting. And we're just going to start with line work. And we're going to draw over this, and we're going to start doing hopefully some thickness on the walls. And then at the end, we'll extrude this. Even though this is not an extruded building, I'll just show you what happens when you extrude line work. Okay, so just to quickly give you an idea of what this looks like, we just brought in not really a surface, but this is being treated like a surface with a texture map. But instead of a texture map, it's an image file. Okay, so I have my layers on the side. And what I would do is literally what I've already done. Just make a new layer and call it wall. Change the color.
Doesn't matter what. Like you're working in top, I put mine in bright.
You put yours in right? That's probably right. But that's okay. It doesn't matter right now. I'm going to go over this in this afternoon, so I'm not going to do it now. Thanks for mentioning that. So one of the things that's going to be important for you guys to understand is a construction plane. I'm going to go over it more, or at least I will plan on going over it more this afternoon. But when you're on your perspective view, you have a construction plane. You can see it through your grid. And when you change views, the construction grid plane, it changes. You can customize this and move it around and change it and do whatever you want. I'll go over later why it's important to know where the home construction plane is, because when you're exporting, things can get lost. But it's good to understand that when you're in your right view and you start drawing, you're no longer drawing on a flat plane, you're drawing vertically. This is a section, so that's why I'm saying it's not wrong. It's actually right.
Okay.
So you're fine. You don't have to erase it. But yours is going to be different than the people who inserted through the perspective like I did, because mine's in the top view. So if you go, when you go to your perspective, yours doesn't look like it's on the ground. Yours looks like a wall. Is that right? You don't know?
I mean, I already messed with.
Okay. All right. Nothing's gonna explode. It's just a different orientation. Okay. So we have our wall. Real quick for you guys just to notice, there's a check mark on here. I said that there's a light bulb, and then there's also a lock, right? There's also a check. The check basically means that's the layer you're currently on. So when I start drawing, I'm gonna be drawing on that layer. Let's do this real quick. Let's create a new layer and call it picture.
Are we keeping the wall layer?
Picture ref, huh?
Are we using the wall?
Yeah. So I made a new layer. I called it picture reference. I hit enter. What I'm gonna do basically is I wanna have control over this. So I'm gonna select it, right click over here, change object layer. So now I can turn it on and off. Yeah? I don't like using just everything on default. So, and now I wanna be on the wall layer. Okay, so we're gonna start drafting. Oh, before we do that, let's lock the picture. So now I can't move it, right? So this is great, because now I can't even select it. I'm gonna go to my polyline. We're gonna start drafting over this. So I made a new layer, call it picture frame. What happened?
Did we change this?
No, we're not changing sequence today.
But isn't this a section, like a section?
It's a section, don't worry about it. We're just drafting. You guys are getting ahead of me. Okay, so the polyline, there's 3 different types of lines. I'll go over it later. But you have degree 1, 2, or 3. Degree 1 has no curves when you transition between the different line segments. A 2 and a 3 has different degrees of curvature. So right now, since I clicked on polyline, this one is a degree 1. This is a degree standard, I think, or by default, this is degree 3. Yeah, so when I click it, it's degree 3. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go to polyline, and what we can do is we can start just drawing over the walls, the exterior. So what you just do is center. Make sure you have your ortho on, so that you can just vertically run through this. But let's see, where do we start? Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna get the floor plates. Change my mind. Since we're on the wall, we're gonna do just the walls. So let's go up vertically. And what you will want to do is either stay on the outside or stay on the inside. Does that make sense? Don't go down the middle. And don't worry that it's not perfect, right? So I mentioned before, you can select the line, and I can move these over. Let's turn something else on, since it might be useful at this point, is to turn on the gumball. So the gumball was new for me when I started learning Rhino. I learned in Rhino 4. That's how old I am. Ancient I am. Okay, so you click on gumball. Does everybody see that? So now when I click the line and I select something, okay, there it goes. I get these 2 arrows. So instead of typing in move, I can just click on that grid and I can move around freely. Control Z sends it back. If I want to move vertically, I can choose the green. If I want to move horizontally, I choose the red. Yeah? If I want to move freely, I choose the grid. Boom.
Choose what? Sorry?
There's a grid right here. There's a little grid box. Top right.
Oh.
Are you able to see that up there? Yeah. That thing. So if you click and grab it, now you can move freely. So you're not constrained to X or Y.
How did you pick just that line instead of the whole polyline?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So send it back. I click the line. It automatically gives me the points. Then I just window select.
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, look, I'm not worried about these lines being consistent and everything being together and getting everything right. We're going to have time to join lines and get thicknesses, and we can customize this 100% as we start developing it, right? So for now, let's run through the entire building and just get the outer profile. So remember, you can fly through this. Just to give you guys an idea, I'm gonna just do this real quick. I'm gonna click. I'm clicking to get that angle, and this is the reason why I chose this building. To get this angle, I can't get it because my ortho's on. I just hold shift, and now I get the angle. Click, and I let go of, now I let go of shift. I can zoom in as I'm in here.
Wait.
Click. All right, so I'm halfway through, and I just realized I'm not happy with something, which is that this wall doesn't actually line up with that wall. You see that? I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is so remember I said I don't care if it's 2 feet and it's supposed to be really 2.6. That's fine. You can be wrong. Just be consistently wrong. Right? So keep every 2'6", keep that wall. If it's supposed to be straight, keep that wall straight. Does that make sense? So I don't care if you're off by a few inches, but if this thing is wobbly and it's not supposed to be wobbly, that's not cool. So I just want to show you that if I do undo, is if I do U and space, it takes me back to before I selected that point. Okay. Huh? Okay. So if you hit enter without the U, you stopped the line segment. You got out of it. You can always get back into it. It's going to be a new segment, and that's okay. Don't worry about it. So just continue going. I'm going to show you guys how to correct this because I'm going to show you, because I've already done that. Okay, I wanted to show you this though. Let's actually, I'm going to make the mistake that some of you made. I'm going to hit enter and get out of it. Whoops, I messed up. That's not the point. Here's what I want to show you guys. If I click here and I want to make this a line to that wall, if you don't have your points on, go ahead and turn your points on now. So click it and it shows a check. Now what I do is I come over to this little point, which is the end of the wall, and I can scroll up and I have, it's a projection line. And since I have intersection on, if you don't have intersection or perpendicular on, you should do that now. And now I can draw a line that's perpendicular to the projection line of that point. Sounds really complicated. Okay, that's it. And now I can just keep going. Everybody got it? Okay. So this is my first time drawing this, and now that I'm doing this, I'm realizing I would do things differently. But this is going to be good, just a good to learn. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm gonna just call this, I like to always have a construction layer. Sometimes for me, it's short CL, construction layer, or construction line. And what I'll do is I'll turn this into like a light gray. I'll go to that layer to make it current. I'll grab that point that I decided to start with, and I'll just move it up. Now that just becomes my line where I can lock onto, right? But actually, I want to do something a little bit different with you guys, which is I want to go ahead and lock. I'm gonna lock this sequence so that when I copy it over, it's the same. Does that make sense? Because what I don't want is 8'6" and then 8'3" and then 8 foot whatever. Even though I'm not really gonna tell, no one's gonna know the difference. Just so you guys know that you can do that, I'm gonna show you a few more commands. So I'll go back to my wall. And you guys understand that there's a sequence here. So I'm going to go from the beginning of one sequence to the end of that same sequence, or start to start. And for me, it's going to be the vertical where it turns and it meets back to that vertical. So it's not locking onto that. And what I can do is I can just turn on near. Now the near comes on. Okay. So when I select that, I have a segment now. What I'll do, yeah.
I was just gonna ask if you do one segment, could you copy it along that line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can copy it in as many different ways. When you mean along the line, like copy it from that line segment, this construction line,
Like if you're copying it, would it snap to that line at all?
to this line?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to. I'll show you the way that I would do it is I would just copy. So, okay, if everybody has that segment, by the way, I just want to show you this. If you guys forgot to lock your picture reference, I'm going to unlock it. And I go to select this line, it's going to always do this. That's really annoying. Every time I click the line, I have to tell it which line. So in order to avoid that and avoid moving the drawing, the base drawing, I just lock it. And that's so layer management is super important. It's going to be important here. It's going to be important in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, everywhere. So you guys should practice just organizing all of your work within layers, because it's going to be helpful and it's going to save time when you guys start exporting. Okay. So maybe this will answer your question. So now that I drew that section or that segment, I'm going to copy. Since I know that this is the end point, this is the beginning of the other one up top, I can click, click, and it's done. So again, I might be off a little bit. I don't care. Don't worry about it. Here's what I would say I care about more is that I know for a fact, since I didn't copy it, this is going to be slightly different. Do you guys see that? I have lines that are not the same. So I'll show you a few commands. Explode. I'll explode that. I'm going to get rid of this segment. I'm going to go kind of quickly, and you guys can go back on this video. I'm going to do copy. Do the same thing, bring it down. And now I have a little gap here. What I can easily do is just click and make a line. And then there's the trim command. I'm going to show you two different ways of doing this. I can do trim, select both line segments, hit enter, and then click what I want to take off. Take off that, take off that. Done. Does that make sense? Okay, there's another way of doing it, and this is the way I prefer to do it. You can do fillet, so Fi, the radius is set to 1. A fillet basically means that between a transition of two lines, I'm either going to get a curve or no curve. The curve, it'll say what's the radius on that curve. For this, I'm going to say no curve, so it's a 0 radius. That means it's going to finish at an edge, at a point. So I'm going to set up here where you see the options. I'm going to just do 0, enter. So now my radius is set to 0. I'm going to click. Now I'm clicking the lines that I want and the segments that I want to keep. And I got the same thing. It's a little bit less clicking than before, so that's why I prefer it, but you can do it both ways. It's the same thing. So now I have different segments. This can be kind of quick. I can select this here. I can do mirror. Copy is set to yes. If I do copy no, first of all, I lose the plus sign that was on the crosshair. If I do back to copy yes, do you see the plus sign? That's your indicator that this is going to be a copy. If I don't do copy, I'm going to mirror this and I'm going to lose what I just did. By saying yes to copy, I'm going to just try to find the middle, which I'm going to guess is right where the W is. Click there. If I go up, that's my mirror plane. I hit enter, and now I have both sides. Cool. Since I'd like for you guys to be able to have your drawings, what you can do is just set your drawings up over the weekend like this. What I'd also like for you guys to do is to do an offset to get some thickness. If you don't get there, don't worry about it. I might cover it today, this afternoon. But anyways, so to do an offset, it's pretty easy. An offset basically means that it's gonna create a copy of the line, certain distance, consistent distance around that line. So you can determine that distance when you do offset. Type offset. Right now, it's setting the distance to 1, which is 1 inch. The wall is not going to be 1 inch. So I can say maybe like an 8-inch wall, or I can just do it by visually clicking through on what I'm looking at. So what I'll do is I'll click, instead of clicking distance, I'll do D, enter, and it's going to ask you, okay, go ahead and click how far do you want the distance to be. So I'm going to do click the thickness of that wall, click. Now back to this line. Oh, that's not the line I did. Select curve to offset. Okay, select curve to offset. So click, there. And I can do that again. And I can do that again. Okay, I'm a little bit off. Again, I don't care. I'm going to just stay consistently off, right? So I would do this to one side before mirroring because now I have to mirror two things. So I'll just delete that and just continue modeling. Anything that you see repeat, just model as much as you can and then repeat. What I'll do is new layer. I'll do this as floor. I'll make it cyan. I'll do a new line. And I'm going to go, again, I don't care where I really click. I just want more or less, oh, I didn't go to that layer. Really quick, I was able to tell that I didn't switch layers because it was still in green. So cyan, click. Oh, we got a line over there. Fine. So I just did the floor plate. Same thing here. Offset, distance. Boom. Okay. If you guys have questions, let me know. I'll be doing the workshop this afternoon. A lot of the stuff that I didn't cover, I'll cover for that. It would be great if you guys, by the end of this weekend, have your building selected and then start drafting it in 2D. Don't worry about 3D. We didn't get to it. Any questions?
Do we have to wait for you to thickness of the